The Eurozone's debt problems have dominated the recent meetings between the EU and Chinese leaders in Beijing. I spoke to the EU ambassador to the United States, João Vale de Almeida, and asked him to describe the Eurozone's ties with China and how they've evolved over the last decade.
Well, it is a very vibrant relationship. If you think that, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, the level of exchanges was much more reduced than it is today. 20 years ago, there was basically nothing going on in terms of economic terms between China and the European Union.
I mean, it was very small.
Very small. Today, this is the second most important economic relationship in the world. The most important one is the one between the European Union and the US. But you come second worldwide, the EU and China. So it's an impressive development in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
What do you think, what was the greatest catalyst for that?
I think certainly economic development change in China. It's an impressive, in the last 30 years, you brought 500 million people out of poverty and in China. So this is a very impressive achievement in historical terms. I think that was the main driver. The other one is globalization. The fact that through new technologies, through opening up of markets, we have a global market today, and China and the European Union play in the global market.
Are you referring to the WTO?
I'm certainly referring to progress introduced by WTO, and that is a major development. And the fact that China is a member of WTO was also a huge, an important development. So I think internal evolution in China, on one hand, and the globalization of the world economy, these two factors were crucial.
What about the next decade? Where does that relationship between the diverse EU and China go to?
Well, I think we're both changing. Change is happening in China, and change is happening in Europe. Maybe there is more change going on in China because you are moving towards a middle-income country, and this will imply reform, renovation of your economy. This will imply an enormous effort to move to more to the area of services, the quality of services and all that. And I think there, Europe can help China develop and reform and modernize. And we are ready to engage, provided China creates the right conditions, namely in terms of market access for our companies, so that we can contribute to the renovation of China's economy.
It hasn't been necessarily a smooth ride. There has been sticking points. There has been areas of conflict, and one of the areas in particular is the standards, requirements, especially on the financial side. Walk us through a little bit about the challenges going forward here.
I think it is part of China becoming a world partner, the world economy, assuming a more important role in a globalized economy, and evolving from an economy which was based in low salaries to an economy which is more and more based on services, on innovation. So the sophistication of the Chinese economy implies changes. And as you integrate into the world market, you have to, of course, integrate into a rules-based system. And this implies some changes for China, as it has implied for us. So I think we are now becoming more mature partners, and we need to engage in sometimes complex negotiations. But if we want to keep the markets open to the benefit of the development of China as much as the European Union, we have to agree on common standards. We have to agree on how to govern the world in economic terms.
So the hard question of that is, how close are you to an agreement?
I think we are working very hard. I mean, dialogue is the key here. We need to keep lines of dialogue. We need to engage with China. We hope very much to resume very soon high-level economic dialogue with China. I think that's crucial. If we want to keep the lines of communication open, we don't want misunderstandings. We want to engage in dialogue in order to find the right solutions, because China is a world partner, the EU is a world partner, we are the second most important economic relationship, so we have to assume that responsibility.
What do you see as potential hiccups to the macro economy, to those relationships between China and the EU, and for that matter, really the rest of the world?
I think we need to keep markets open. We need to keep a flow of trade in goods and services. We need to sophisticate further the mechanisms to guarantee that there is no, that we keep the flow going. And this requires a lot of open-minded dialogue. And this is what we need for the next decade, is that, because our economies are changing. Europe is changing as well. and China is and the US is. So we need all the big partners to come together and find agreements for these kind of issues. And other issues, if I may, there are a number of global challenges, challenges that go beyond borders. Climate change is one of them. Terrorism is another one. Energy security, food security, water security. And we need all the partners, including China and the European Union, to play game, to come to agreements and to find the understanding that the world requires.
That was João Vale de Almeida, the EU ambassador to the United States.